Have you ever felt stressed, angry, or hurt by someone, and asked yourself, why does this keep happening? Why can't I find peace? There are moments in life when everything seems to go against us, as if the universe is testing our hearts and minds. A car accident, a harsh word from a loved one, or a failure at work can wound us so deeply that we feel like turning our backs on the world. Often, we react with resentment, blame, or try to control everything to protect ourselves. But these reactions only deepen our suffering and create an endless cycle of pain. In those moments of despair, is there another way? A path that leads to inner peace, where the heart is no longer chained by hatred, where we are no longer held captive by past wounds. Buddhism has long pointed to the answer in compassion and forgiveness, two qualities capable of healing the soul, freeing us from suffering, and transforming the way we see the world. But compassion is not weakness, and forgiveness is not about forgetting or accepting injustice. On the contrary, they are inner strengths, confronted every day with rebellious, violent, and disruptive students. Yet through patience and compassion, she not only transforms their behavior, but also transforms herself. Imagine a stranger on a crowded New York street who saves a robbery victim, then cares for the injured thief. A small act with the power to change both the giver and the receiver. Stories like these exist all around us, across nations and cultures, each one revealing the healing power of compassion and forgiveness. What is remarkable is that these stories are not just myths or distant moral lessons. Modern science, psychology, and neuroscience show that acts of kindness, forgiveness, and letting go literally reshape the brain, reduce stress, strengthen social connections, and enhance mental health. When we learn to see others with compassion, when we forgive past hurts, we are not only freeing ourselves, but creating a ripple effect, allowing those around us to feel peace and ease as well. Throughout the next 60 minutes, you will be guided through vivid, real-world stories, from ordinary people in the United States, Europe, and Africa to short but profound Zen tales, each reflecting the miraculous power of compassion and forgiveness. We will analyze how seemingly small actions can transform lives, explore Buddhist philosophy, and understand the modern psychological perspective, showing that compassion and forgiveness are not abstract ideas, but practical tools for freeing the mind and heart. So, if you are seeking inner peace, if you want to heal broken relationships, if you long for a life with less anger and more happiness, join me on this journey. Prepare to experience stories with the power to change your life, to learn how to love unconditionally, and to discover the key to freeing your soul that Buddhism has taught for thousands of years, yet remains entirely relevant in today's modern world. In the next 60 minutes, David, a former British soldier, spent his weekends alone, yet far from peaceful. Decades had passed since he left the army, but memories of his old comrades, the brutal battles in Afghanistan. But any moment of calm was quickly overtaken by memories and anger. He felt like a prisoner of his own mind, shackled by resentment, hatred, and unprocessed pain. One October afternoon, while walking in Hampstead Heath, weak sunlight filtering through the leaves, David noticed another veteran walking his dog. The man recognized David and approached to greet him. Why had everyone abandoned him in those critical moments? David turned away, walking faster. But the story did not end there. The memories and anger clung like a shadow that refused to release him. Weeks later, David happened upon a book on Buddhism that spoke about compassion and forgiveness, about how forgiving is not only about freeing others, but also about freeing oneself. A line stopped him in his tracks. Holding on to hatred is like chaining yourself to suffering. Forgiveness is the key that opens the door to freedom for the mind. These words struck David profoundly. Modern psychology also demonstrates that forgiveness reduces stress, improves cardiovascular health, alleviates PTSD symptoms, and strengthens overall mental well-being. David not only learned to forgive, but also to show compassion toward himself, recognizing his limitations and mistakes from the past, opening a long but deeply meaningful journey of healing. Finally, David met his former comrade in the park. This time, instead of avoiding him, he approached with a genuine smile. No explanations, no anger, just the acknowledgement that they were both human, flawed, fearful, and suffering. A sense of peace spread through David, like morning light piercing through thick fog. For the first time in years, he realized he was no longer chained by the past. Forgiveness did not change what had happened, but it changed how he lived in the present. He walked away feeling lighter, even in a community full of people. One spring afternoon, as Emma returned home after a long day, she noticed her elderly neighbor, Margaret, struggling to carry a heavy box. Without hesitation, Emma ran to help her bring the box inside. Margaret thanked Emma with a gentle smile, but Emma did not think about receiving anything in return. She simply acted because her heart told her it was the right thing to do. That small, seemingly simple act set off a profound change within Emma's heart. Returning home, she sat down, exhaled, and noticed a sense of peace she had never felt before quietly flowing through her. A part of her, long frozen by stress and resentment, suddenly softened and opened. Emma realized that kindness does not require reciprocation, no conditions, and that simple acts of compassion could bring joy to the giver as much as to the receiver. From the Buddhist perspective, studies show that acts of kindness and altruism increase happiness-related hormones in the body, such as oxytocin and serotonin, reducing stress, improving cardiovascular health, and loving life. Emma's story reminds us that compassion does not need to be grand, and forgiveness does not need to be complicated. A simple gesture or sincere act can transform not only our own mood, but also positively affect the world around us. Everyone can be a source of light, spreading joy and peace without expecting anything in return. This is the hidden power of compassion. Small deeds can have a profound effect, opening freedom and happiness within ourselves while nurturing kindness and social connection, a timeless value, from Buddhist wisdom to modern psychological research. When we help others without expecting repayment, we truly liberate our minds from calculation, from the fear of loss, from the constraints of ego. And in that moment, inner peace emerges, not from the outside world, but from a heart capable of love, care, and giving, regardless of outcome or reward. Emma's story is vivid proof that every small act of kindness carries the power to heal and generate positive karma, opening the door for a free heart, a peaceful mind, and a life full of love. It reminds us that even in a fast-paced, sometimes harsh world, people rushing to airports or meetings, Marcus always reminded himself that this job was not just about transporting people from point A to point B, but also an opportunity to cultivate patience, inner calm, and understanding of different kinds of people. One afternoon, as the sky darkened and intermittent rain still fell, Marcus picked up a visibly frustrated passenger. The middle-aged man, dressed formally but with a flushed face and sharp voice, immediately began complaining about traffic, waiting times, and even taxi fares. Marcus took a deep breath, closed his eyes for a moment, and smiled gently. He knew that responding with anger would only escalate the situation, leaving both of them with lingering tension. From the Buddhist perspective, moments like these are vivid lessons in practical forgiveness and letting go, say, releasing irritation, not being controlled by negative emotions, and responding mindfully. Marcus engaged with the passenger calmly, speaking in short, considerate sentences, occasionally offering a gentle smile. He avoided debating or proving who was right or wrong, focusing instead on maintaining harmony in the car and creating a safe space for both. In the first few minutes, the passenger remained irritable, his voice sharp. When Marcus stayed calm, his brain not only controlled adrenaline and cortisol, but also activated areas responsible for empathy and sound decision-making. This behavior not only protected him from stress, but also positively influenced the passenger, helping him cool his anger and opening the door for mutual understanding and connection. This story demonstrates that XA is not merely theory or abstract philosophy. It is a skill to practice in daily life. When facing unpleasant situations, hot-tempered people, bringing connection, peace, and transformation not only for the recipient, but also for the one who extends kindness. In this section, we will explore vivid, real-life stories where kindness knows no discrimination, and the healing power of compassion is vividly demonstrated in everyday life. 2.1 Story 1. Stranger saves the enemy, when kindness transcends fear and prejudice. On a late afternoon in Manhattan, New York, The streets were bustling with honking cars, footsteps, and leaves fluttering in the autumn wind. Jacob, a young office worker, was walking home after a long day when suddenly he became the victim of a mugging. A stranger lunged at him, attempting to snatch his bag. Panic and fear flooded his senses, his heart raced, and his whole body tensed, feeling frozen and unprepared to react. In that chaotic moment, a passerby, Elena, she tended to the injuries the young thief suffered when he fell during his escape. Elena used her coat to wipe the blood from the young man's hands and spoke calming words, all while keeping Jacob safe and composed. This moment offers a vivid lesson in undiscriminating compassion. In Buddhism, compassion is not reserved solely for loved ones, friends, or close kin. It also extends to strangers, even enemies. When Elena acted without judgment or conditions, she liberated her own mind from fear, resentment, and prejudice. Stimulates the brain to release happiness hormones like oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, reducing stress, boosting mood, and enhancing social connection. Elena's behavior not only made Jacob feel safe, but also generated a ripple effect of positivity. Even those who witnessed the moment could feel warmth, connection, and renewed faith in humanity. In the years that followed, Jacob often recalled that moment. He said that Elena's actions changed the way he perceived the world. He no longer saw only danger and competition. Elena's actions exemplify unconditional compassion, liberating herself from fear and prejudice while creating positive karma. From a psychological standpoint, such acts strengthen social bonds, foster trust, and reduce social tension. The synergy of ancient philosophy and modern science shows that compassion is not an abstract virtue, but a practical tool to build healthier, more connected, and peaceful communities. Jacob and Elena's story reminds us that within every person lies the opportunity to choose kindness, to open the heart, and to act with compassion, even towards someone we fear or might consider an enemy. When we act without discrimination, we not only change the lives of others, but also heal ourselves. In that brief moment on a Manhattan street, a small act of profound compassion transcended all boundaries, created connection, and reminded everyone that true kindness can overcome even the limits we imagine as insurmountable. 2.2 Story 2. The teacher who showed patience to a rebellious student, when compassion sows seeds of change. At a high school in Toronto, Canada, Teacher Elizabeth was accustomed to dealing with students who had strong personalities, unique traits, and sometimes disruptive behavior in class. Among them was a boy named Liam, who frequently teased his classmates, argued with teachers, and often skipped lessons. Most teachers at the school had given up or resorted to strict punishment, but Elizabeth chose a different path. She applied patient compassion, persisting in understanding and supporting the student rather than punishing him. Elizabeth realized that Liam was not inherently bad or malicious. He was simply seeking attention and lacked a supportive environment to thrive. Instead of scolding him or giving negative marks, she took the time to listen to Liam, cared about the personal challenges he was facing, and tried to connect with his interests. She created flexible learning activities, encouraged him to participate with his peers, and praised even the smallest progress he made. Over several weeks, changes gradually appeared. Liam began to participate more actively in class, teased his classmates less, and showed respect toward teachers. Elizabeth understood that patient compassion was not merely a momentary emotional act, but a powerful educational method, planting seeds of virtue for the student's future. Continuous acts of kindness, genuine care. This story illustrates that compassion is not reserved for loved ones, but extends to those in need, even when they challenge or frustrate us. When Elizabeth acted patiently and without judgment toward Liam, she liberated herself from feelings of annoyance and disappointment, while simultaneously planting seeds of positive karma in the student's mind. According to the law of cause and effect, these seeds will grow, producing lasting and positive changes in behavior, thought, and worldview. Modern psychology also confirms the power of this approach. Research in child education and behavior shows that positive attention, recognition, their brains activate reward systems, release happiness hormones, improve self-regulation, and reduce defiant behavior. As a result, Liam not only decreased his disruptive actions, but also developed social skills, learned to cooperate, and gained confidence in the school environment. Elizabeth also realized that compassion was not just a gift for her students, but a healing force for herself. Facing challenges with patience, maintaining a positive attitude, or a genuine smile is enough to plant seeds of change in another person's heart. Elizabeth demonstrated that compassion in education is not only a moral lesson, but a vivid example of the power to heal, transform, and foster growth through care, respect, and patience. Elizabeth and Liam's story reminds us that compassion has no boundaries, and its power can overcome all obstacles, from strong personalities and defiance to emotional wounds. When we act with patience, concern, and kindness, we not only plant seeds of virtue in others, but also cultivate our own hearts, creating positive connections, harmony, and the potential for lasting change in the world around us. 2.3 Story 3. The Volunteer Doctor in Africa, When Compassion Transcends All Borders. In a small village in Kenya, where the scorching sun and red dust covered the dirt roads, Dr. Thomas, a British physician, volunteered to help children and the local community without expecting any personal gain. Thomas left behind a stable career in London, where he had a high income and a respected reputation, to experience a challenging and harsh life, yet one full of opportunities to practice compassion and kindness. Every day, Thomas faced illnesses that even modern hospitals sometimes struggled to treat: malnutrition in children, infectious diseases, injuries from accidents or conflicts. Rather than complain or seek personal benefit, he devoted himself to caring for each patient, conversing, comforting, and accompanying their families throughout the treatment process. Small but sincere actions, holding children's hands during injections, listening to parents' fears and concerns, created a deep impact, allowing the community to feel warmth, hope, and renewed faith in human goodness. From a Buddhist perspective, Thomas's story is a vivid example of compassion beyond borders. Compassion is not limited by nationality, race, or social condition. It extends globally, freeing the practitioner from greed, anger, and ignorance, while bringing profound inner peace. By helping without expecting anything in return, Thomas not only saved lives, but also nurtured a liberated mind, unbound by personal desire or self-interest. Modern psychology also confirms the positive effects of such altruistic actions. Acts of selfless compassion, especially toward strangers, can increase inner satisfaction, reduce stress, and provide a sense of meaning in life. For Thomas, every child's smile after recovery, every heartfelt word of thanks from parents, was an invaluable source of motivation, giving him a sense of spiritual fulfillment that nothing money could buy. During his volunteer work, Thomas encountered many difficulties: limited medical supplies, inadequate facilities, and even the risk of illness or accidents. Yet his commitment and compassionate actions helped him persevere. His deeds also created a ripple effect, as community members witnessing his kindness began helping one another, supporting children, and sharing knowledge about health and nutrition. A single act of compassion sparked a chain of positive actions, transforming a place once full of scarcity and despair into an environment of hope, cooperation, and care. By giving without expectation, we not only help others, but also free ourselves from stress, selfishness, and mental burdens. Thomas showed that true compassion transcends geographical, social, and cultural borders, and its power can transform communities as well as the hearts of those who practice it. Through this story, viewers can see that acts of kindness do not require limits. Selfless actions, even from a single individual, can plant seeds of hope, change attitudes, and inspire many others in the community. Through perseverance and tireless compassion, a mother forgives her betraying child, when letting go frees the soul. In the suburbs of Paris, a mother named Claire experienced a profound emotional shock when she discovered that her only son, Antoine, had betrayed her trust. Antoine's poor decisions caused years of suffering, pain, and uncertainty for the family. At first, Claire's heart was filled with anger, frustration, and a desire to withdraw completely from her son. However, after months of reflection, Claire began practicing letting go, She forgave her son not to excuse his mistakes, but to free herself from the weight of anger and suffering. She realized that holding on to resentment would only make her heart heavier, stealing her peace and the ability to see reality with compassion. By forgiving, Claire created a safe and calm space for both herself and Antoine, where they could communicate, understand each other, and gradually rebuild trust. From a Buddhist perspective, Hye-xe is not only an act of forgiving others, but also a means of liberating oneself from suffering. When Claire released her anger, she was no longer dominated by negative emotions. Her mind became lighter and clearer. Forgiveness functions as a form of mindfulness, allowing one to live in the present, free from the repetitive cycle of hatred and resentment. Modern psychology also confirms the benefits of forgiveness for mental health. Those who practice forgiveness experience reduced stress, lower blood pressure, improved sleep, greater life satisfaction, and healthier relationships. Claire felt these changes profoundly. Her heart found peace, her pain transformed into understanding, and her maternal love became deeper and stronger. The process of letting go was not easy. Claire had to face complex emotions, anger, doubt, and fear that Antoine might repeat his mistakes. Yet, through patience, courage, and a focus on compassion, she found the strength to forgive sincerely. This act of forgiveness not only healed the mother-son relationship, but also planted positive seeds, creating the potential for change and growth in both of them. Claire and Antoine's story is a vivid demonstration that letting go opens the door to inner freedom, allowing humans to overcome even the deepest wounds and find inner peace. Forgiving does not make one weak. Rather, it strengthens, matures. But seeing everything with compassion and deep understanding, Hye-xe heals not only the person who has been wronged, but also nurtures peace, compassion, and wisdom within oneself. Over time, Antoine, releasing the mind from the burden of hatred, cultivating peace, and fostering long-lasting personal growth. 3.2 Story 2. A betrayed colleague. When forgiveness brings peace at work. At a technology company in Berlin, Germany, a young employee named Lucas went through a deeply hurtful and unforgettable experience. Lucas felt deeply betrayed. Anger, disappointment, and resentment built up inside him, causing mental fatigue, lack of focus, and a decrease in motivation. In his eyes, all his hard work seemed meaningless, and he began to feel unappreciated. Yet, after some reflection, Lucas realized that holding on to resentment would only weigh down his soul further, affecting his health, mindset, and workplace relationships. He began to practice letting go. Hye-xe. Lucas chose to forgive his colleague, not because the colleague deserved it. Lucas's story shows that Hye-xe is not only applicable in family or friendship contexts, but also plays a crucial role in the workplace, where competition and conflict are likely to arise. Forgiveness helps individuals remain calm, confident, and emotionally balanced, while nurturing wisdom and sound judgment, fostering a more positive, cooperative, and less contentious work culture. In this context, forgiveness is not only liberation for the individual, but also contributes to building a healthy and harmonious environment. This story emphasizes a vital message. Hye-xe is the path to inner peace, freedom, and holistic development, even in situations where we are betrayed or treated unfairly. When we forgive, we free ourselves from negative emotions and simultaneously generate positive energy in our surroundings, allowing both ourselves and others to progress on a path of growth, freedom, and serenity. 3. Story 3. Forgiving the driver. When letting go heals the soul. In Melbourne, Australia, a serious traffic accident dramatically changed the life of a man named Daniel. One rainy afternoon, not to justify the wrongdoing, but to liberate himself from psychological burden and negative karma. From a Buddhist perspective, Hye-xe, letting go, is a form of inner liberation. Studies show that people who practice forgiveness often experience lower levels of depression and stress, while improving the quality of their relationships. For Daniel, the act of forgiving relieved psychological pressure, restored inner peace, and gradually rebuilt his trust in others. He realized that forgiveness does not weaken a person, rather, it cultivates mental strength and profound personal growth. Daniel's journey of Hye-xe was not easy. He faced a whirlwind of emotions, anger, fear, and doubts that forgiving might allow the driver to escape consequences. Yet, through patience, mindfulness practice, and focusing on compassion, he found the strength to forgive sincerely. This act healed not only himself, but also created an opportunity for the driver to recognize his mistakes, change behavior, and develop character. Daniel's story demonstrates that letting go has the power to free individuals from mental burdens, even in highly traumatic situations. When we forgive, we release ourselves from hatred while generating positive energy that can soothe social tension and plant seeds of goodness in both parties' hearts. Daniel understood that forgiveness does not mean forgetting or overlooking wrongdoing. It is a conscious choice to heal and move forward. When high XA is practiced sincerely, it brings inner freedom, mental strength, and the opportunity to cultivate deeper compassion. By forgiving the driver, Daniel found a sense of peace he had not experienced since the accident. This story sends a powerful message. Letting go is the path to healing the soul, releasing hatred, and creating the opportunity for inner growth, even in the harshest circumstances. Forgiveness is not just a gift to others. It is the most precious gift to oneself, bringing peace, strength, and true freedom. Part 4. The healing power of relationships. Every relationship in life, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, carries its own challenges and conflicts. When misunderstandings or disagreements persist, feelings of hurt and resentment often cling tightly, creating distance between people. However, when compassion and letting go, high XA, are applied. 4.1 Story 1. Family reunited after misunderstanding, when compassion erases pain. In a small town in Tuscany, Italy, the Rossi family had endured years of conflict and discord. Their disagreements began with minor issues but gradually deepened, leading to harsh words, prolonged arguments, and increasing emotional distance. Each family member carried personal wounds, pride, and disappointment, making reconciliation seem impossible. Amid this tense atmosphere, Maria, the eldest daughter, realized that the anger and resentment everyone held only hardened their hearts further. She decided to try a different approach, applying compassion and letting go, high XA, to initiate a conversation, not to blame or make others feel guilty, but to share genuine feelings and listen sincerely. Human relationships are the result of karma and interdependent connections, Nenduyan, and compassion is the key to healing accumulated karmic tensions. The invisible walls of doubt and anger gradually fell, replaced by closeness, trust, and restored love. One evening, the entire family gathered around the dinner table. There was no more distance or lingering bitterness, only laughter, genuine conversation, and loving gazes, making everyone feel lighter and more appreciative of one another. The Rossi family's story demonstrates that compassion and forgiveness have the power to transform misunderstandings and conflicts into opportunities for deeper love. They not only heal relationships, but also heal their own souls, bringing lasting peace and happiness. Their journey of reconciliation reminds us that every conflict holds the potential for understanding, empathy, and love. Old friends reunited, when forgiveness restores broken bonds. In London, England, two close friends from university, Emily and Sophie, had lost contact for many years due to a small but lingering misunderstanding. Initially, a careless remark and a lack of patience during an argument caused a rift in their relationship. Instead of seeking clarification or offering forgiveness, both chose silence, allowing resentment to quietly grow over time. They lived with feelings of sadness and loneliness. And although they occasionally thought of each other, pride and self-respect prevented them from reaching out. One afternoon, by chance, Emily encountered Sophie at a charity event in the city center, responded with sincere forgiveness. That moment became the starting point for mending a friendship that had seemed lost forever. From a Buddhist perspective, forgiveness is a way to liberate the mind from the burdens of resentment and regret. As Emily and Sophie practiced forgiveness, forgiveness became an act of compassion, allowing their connection to be restored and enabling them to nurture their friendship with more openness and heart. Modern psychology also supports that reconciliation and forgiveness among friends reduce stress, loneliness, and enhance social bonds. Research shows that people who maintain positive relationships tend to have better mental health, greater resilience, and longer-lasting happiness. In the case of Emily and Sophie, the act of forgiving helped them release psychological pressure, opening opportunities for honest conversations, sharing difficulties, joys, and experiences missed during years apart. Over time, the two began to meet more frequently, participating in charitable activities together, enjoying coffee, and reminiscing about old memories. Their relationship was no longer just an old friendship, but had been rebuilt with deeper understanding, gratitude, and greater empathy. Compassion and forgiveness transformed distance into a bridge, turning painful memories into a foundation for a mature and lasting relationship. Emily and Sophie's story demonstrates that forgiveness is not just a gift for others, but a way to heal one's own heart, helping people release negative emotions, reduce stress, and create conditions for friendships, love, and other important relationships to flourish. When we dare to open our hearts and practice sincere forgiveness, we not only restore lost relationships, but also learn to love more deeply, cherish spiritual connections, and generate enduring happiness for ourselves and others. Their journey of reconciliation reminds us that every misunderstanding or conflict holds an opportunity to listen, understand, and reconnect, and that forgiveness is the key that opens the door to harmony, love, and inner peace. 4.3 Story 3. Each team member held on to frustrations and resentment about how colleagues handled tasks, leading to complaints, heated arguments, and even subtle undermining that often went unnoticed. In this context, John, the team leader, realized that the work environment had become toxic, affecting not only productivity, but also everyone's morale. He decided to try a different approach, creating a space for employees to express their feelings while encouraging them to practice compassion and letting go. Hayek say, not to assign blame, but to understand and empathize with one another. John organized team meetings that focused not only on projects, but also allowed time for everyone to share difficulties, disappointments, and small successes. During this process, the team began to realize that many conflicts stemmed from misunderstandings and work pressures rather than personal malice or resentment. As each member practiced compassion, understanding and empathizing with colleagues, and letting go, forgiving mistakes, and overlooking harsh words, they felt lighter and were no longer dominated by negative emotions. Practicing compassion and letting go helped members restore relationships, reduce tension, and focus on common goals. Projects that once seemed stuck were now progressing smoothly, new ideas emerged, and team spirit strengthened. The story of this San Francisco team demonstrates that forgiveness, empathy, and acts of kindness not only heal relationships, but also enhance productivity and effectiveness. When people learn to set aside personal grievances, they create a harmonious workplace and experience inner peace and ease, which in turn fosters creativity and problem-solving abilities. This journey of reconciliation reminds us that in any environment, compassion and letting go are powerful tools to connect people, heal conflicts, and open opportunities for successful collaboration, benefiting not only individuals but the entire team. When we choose love and forgiveness over resentment, we not only mend relationships, but also elevate collective capability and quality of life for everyone. Part 5. Small acts of compassion with big impact. In daily life, it is not always grand gestures that make a difference. Sometimes a small act, a simple expression of kindness, can spread positive energy and profoundly affect those around us. This section will share stories of small acts of compassion that create significant impact, emphasizing that kindness knows no scale, and that even the simplest actions can heal, connect, and transform lives for the better. 5.1 Story 1. The young man who returned a lost wallet. Small acts, big impact. In Tokyo, Japan, Kenji, a young man working in the city center, was walking home when he found a lost wallet on the street. Inside were cash, bank cards, and important personal documents. Without hesitation, Kenji decided to return the wallet to its owner, expecting nothing in return. Using the identification card inside, he contacted the owner and arranged a meeting to return the wallet intact. Was initially surprised and overwhelmed by Kenji's honesty. When she received the wallet, she was deeply moved and sincerely thanked him. But Kenji simply smiled and said he was just doing what was right. The story quickly spread throughout the neighborhood, inspiring others to recognize kindness and social responsibility. This seemingly small act created a ripple effect of trust and community cohesion, as witnesses felt motivated to act more compassionately and help one another. From a Buddhist perspective, every virtuous action, no matter how small, generates positive karma and spreads beneficial energy to those around us. Kenji's act of returning the wallet is a prime example of unconditional compassion, action taken not for personal gain or recognition, but from the awareness that all beings deserve respect and help. This positive energy, even if initiated by one individual, can expand outward, creating a chain of kind actions that contribute to a more civilized and harmonious community. Modern psychological research also shows that small, selfless acts of kindness increase happiness, pride, and social connection. When Kenji returned the wallet, such acts affirm that people can do the right thing even in everyday situations, generating positive effects on both individual and communal well-being. This story emphasizes that small acts of compassion can have a large impact, spreading positive values and building lasting human connections. In a world often dominated by stress, competition, and self-interest, small but sincere actions like Kenji's demonstrate the power of kindness in daily life. Each act contributes to a network of compassion where trust, support, heartfelt gestures can make a profound difference in the lives of others and in our own. When everyone practices compassion in ordinary acts, we not only heal others but cultivate peace, happiness, and benevolence within ourselves, creating an ongoing ripple of positive energy throughout the community. 5.2 Story 2. The Doctor Who Volunteered for the Homeless, Small Acts. Big meaning. In Vancouver, Canada, Dr. Emily Thompson, a family physician, dedicates every weekend evening to providing free medical care for the city's homeless population. For her, this is not merely volunteer work. It is an expression of compassion and genuine concern for people often forgotten by society. Regardless of cold weather or the pressures of her own work, Dr. Emily persists, ensuring that every person who comes to her clinic receives basic medical attention, health advice, and, most importantly, attentive listening, respect, and empathy. One evening, respectful conversation, and Dr. Emily's sincere care, he gradually opened up. He shared his hardships, loneliness, and the sense of abandonment he had endured for so long. Dr. Emily not only examined him and prescribed medicine, but also listened deeply, empathized, and reminded him of his self-worth, sparking hope that he could improve his life. From a Buddhist perspective, every compassionate act, big or small, generates positive karma, benefiting not only the recipient, but also enhancing the inner happiness and peace of the practitioner. Dr. Emily's actions not only provide physical care, but also cultivate compassion, allowing the homeless to feel valued, connected, and cared for. This is a living example of how compassion is not just theory but practical action, bringing profound change to the lives of both giver and receiver. From a modern psychological standpoint, research shows that volunteer acts, especially helping those in need without expecting reward, increase life meaning, boost happiness, and reduce stress. Dr. Emily experiences deep satisfaction, inner peace, and a sense of connection with the community each time she completes an evening clinic. For the recipients, being cared for, listened to, and supported reduces stress, increases trust in life, and motivates them to overcome challenges. This story emphasizes that small, consistent, and sincere acts of compassion can create significant impact, extending beyond the individual and positively affecting the community. An evening spent helping the homeless, a simple but consistent act of care, can change people's outlook on the world. Every sincere act of care, no matter how simple or quiet, contributes to positive change, heals the soul, and connects people in a better way. Such acts not only benefit others, but also cultivate peace, happiness, and meaning within our own hearts, creating an ongoing ripple of positive impact throughout the community. 5.3 Story 3. A student helping a stranger, small acts, spreading kindness. In a university town in the United States, Alex, a second-year student, was walking down a crowded street during the busy school hour. He noticed an elderly woman struggling to cross the road slowly and carefully. Although it was a simple gesture, Alex immediately stepped forward, gently assisting her across the street, keeping her safe from the bustling traffic. The woman smiled and thanked him, but Alex only nodded, expecting neither praise nor reward. That brief moment left a deep impression on onlookers. Many began to smile, and the atmosphere around them felt warmer. Alex's seemingly small action is a clear example of compassion in everyday gestures. In Buddhism, every kind act, no matter how small, generates positive energy, planting seeds of loving kindness and good karma. By helping the elderly woman, Alex not only assisted someone else, but also nurtured compassion within himself. This story emphasizes that compassion does not need to be grand or complex. It can emerge from small, sincere gestures in daily life. Every act of kindness, every attentive action toward another person, contributes to easing social tension, creating a friendly environment, and connecting people. Through this simple act, Alex demonstrated that even a small gesture can influence the emotions, moods, and even thoughts of many people around, spreading positive energy widely. Alex's journey reminds us that every opportunity to help others, no matter how minor, holds deep value. It not only makes the recipient feel cared for and safe, but also cultivates compassion, inner happiness, and social connectedness in the giver. Small, consistent, and sincere actions like this are the seeds of positive change, helping to spread kindness and heal communities. Practicing forgiveness, when letting go becomes strength. Forgiveness is not just an action, but a transformative energy, a path that takes the mind from tension and resentment to deep inner peace. In modern life, when relationships are complicated, conflicts drag on, or old wounds remain unresolved, forgiveness becomes a powerful tool for regaining balance, releasing negative emotions, increase well-being, and improve relationships. In this section, we explore stories of the power of forgiveness, showing how choosing to let go and open one's heart can truly become a force that transforms lives and communities. 6.1 Story 1. Resentment and Deep Emotional Wounds. Instead of continuing down the harsh legal path, he chose a different approach, forgiveness. Thomas proactively reached out to the opposing side, expressing goodwill and proposing a reconciliation based on understanding and compassion. His actions not only surprised the other party, but also eased the long-standing tension. Letting go, on the other hand, creates space for inner peace, heals the heart, and opens the opportunity for relationships to be rebuilt on the foundation of compassion. Through his act of forgiveness, Thomas alleviated his own mental burden while helping the surrounding business community escape prolonged tension, creating a more harmonious and sustainable work environment. Thomas's story reminds us that forgiveness is not weakness or overlooking wrongdoing, but a wise and humane life strategy, helping people and relationships move beyond pain toward peace and sustainable growth. It reminds us that sometimes true strength does not come from power or intellect, but from a heart willing to release and open itself. 6.2 Story 2. Forgiving a Former Lover, When Past Love Becomes a Lesson. In Vancouver, Canada, Elena is an independent, intelligent woman with a reflective nature. She had once been in a deep, long-term relationship, but it ended in profound pain and betrayal. Her former partner had broken her trust, leaving Elena to struggle with feelings of disappointment, anger, and persistent emotional pain. Every passing day, memories of broken promises and lost warm moments haunted her, making it difficult to find true peace. She tried to move on, dating others, seeking joy in work and travels, yet the pain from the past remained like an invisible ghost, reminding her that broken trust is not easily mended. One day, during a mindfulness meditation retreat beside a tranquil lake, Elena began to look deeply into her inner self. Her teacher emphasized that holding on to anger and regret is a form of self-imprisonment, trapping us in cycles of suffering without release. These words shone like light into her heart, opening her awareness that resentment harms no one but oneself. Sitting in meditation, breathing slowly, Elena felt the heaviness in her chest, the accumulated tension from years of unforgiveness, gradually becoming conscious. She began practicing hiri and exe, forgiveness, forgiving her former partner, not to rekindle the relationship, but to free herself from the emotional burden. In each meditation session, she imagined sending out forgiveness, without hatred or blame, simply letting go. Each time, a sense of relief spread within her, like a fog lifting from her mind, making space for calm and serenity. Elena wrote a heartfelt letter to her ex, expressing forgiveness and wishing both of them happiness in their separate paths. Sending the letter brought a unique sense of liberation. The painful memories did not disappear completely, but they no longer dominated her emotions or weighed on her. She began to view the past with gratitude for the lessons learned, instead of resentment or regret. Opening her heart, she experienced deeper joy and connection with friends, colleagues, and those around her. According to Buddhist teachings, forgiveness is the path to liberate oneself from cycles of suffering. Holding on to resentment generates negative energy that affects not only oneself, but also the surrounding environment, relationships, and mental health. Forgiving breaks the chain of negative karma, bringing peace to the mind and opening opportunities for a positive life. Elena realized that forgiving does not make her weak or forgetful. Rather, it is a courageous act that allows the soul to be free. Modern psychological research also confirms that forgiveness heals emotional wounds, reduces anxiety and depression, and increases the capacity to embrace new happiness. Forgiveness activates brain regions associated with positive emotions, boosting oxytocin and serotonin levels, improving mood, and enhancing social connection. Elena experienced this clearly. After forgiving, she slept better, felt less anxious, and was open to new experiences. Forgiveness is not only an inner act, but also creates a positive ripple effect in real life. Elena's story reminds us that forgiveness, is not only for family or social relationships, but also for one's own heart. Forgiving someone who once hurt you is not about forgetting the past or showing weakness. It is a courageous act to heal, open the heart to new possibilities, and truly liberate the soul. When past love becomes a lesson rather than a burden, one can move forward with strength, inner peace, and lasting happiness. Demonstrating that forgiveness is a practical tool to balance emotions and enhance the quality of life. 6.3 Story 3. Forgiving a difficult colleague, when compassion becomes strength. In San Francisco, USA, there is an office employee named David, known for his diligence and strong sense of responsibility. He works in an international tech company, where the environment is highly competitive and stressful. Within his team, there is a colleague named Mark, who frequently creates obstacles. From disrupting project progress to publicly criticizing David in front of clients and managers. Each incident left David feeling angry, stressed, and even sleepless, as he could not understand why Mark acted this way, and a sense of helplessness gradually accumulated. The situation peaked when an important project required David to work twice as hard to correct mistakes and counter Mark's interference. Long evenings at the office, tight deadlines, or interaction, David maintained a calm, cooperative attitude. The anger that once weighed him down gradually transformed into awareness and acceptance, making space for inner freedom. Over time, David noticed a significant change. His stress decreased, work performance improved, and even his relationship with Mark softened. As David continued practicing patience and forgiveness, Mark gradually became less hostile, and the team worked more collaboratively. Other colleagues also noticed this positive change, creating a more open and harmonious work environment, and enabling other wholesome actions to arise. When David practiced forgiveness, he not only improved his surroundings, but also cultivated inner peace, focus, and leadership ability. Modern psychological research also confirms that forgiveness reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, improves sleep and cardiovascular health, while boosting confidence and emotional regulation. David realized that forgiving does not mean weakness or overlooking wrongs. Rather, it is a source of inner strength that allows control over emotions, focus on work efficiency, and opens the door to long-term collaboration. David's story reminds us that practicing compassion and forgiveness in the workplace not only frees oneself from stress, but also fosters a productive, harmonious, and happier work environment. Forgiveness is not merely an emotional act, but a smart strategy for mental health, career development, and lasting relationships. not only because of the content, but also due to Emily's sincerity and patience in each session. She also used direct interaction methods, encouraging children to practice compassionate acts in class, helping friends in need, sharing school supplies, or offering words of praise and encouragement. Gradually, the children realized that kindness and forgiveness bring joy not only to others, but also to themselves, a key lesson Emily emphasized in line with Buddhist teachings. Focusing on their breath and visualizing their hearts radiating positive energy to friends, family, and the community. These sessions help the children reduce stress, enhance emotional regulation, and cultivate empathy toward others. Psychological research also shows that children who practice compassion early tend to have better emotional control, stronger mental health, and more sustainable social relationships. Emily organized discussion sessions where children shared experiences of helping or forgiving others. These small yet sincere stories were valued and listened to, helping the children understand that every act of kindness has a powerful ripple effect, and when many small acts accumulate, they can transform an entire society. Over time, the community where Emily volunteered began to show noticeable changes. Children learned to reconcile, adults felt inspired. Escalating violence and multi-generational grudges, an international nonprofit launched an ambitious reconciliation project. This initiative aimed not only to resolve ongoing disputes, but also to plant the values of forgiveness, letting go, and compassion into every community relationship, teaching people to see one another through eyes of understanding and tolerance. The project leaders began by organizing meetings between opposing groups. Initially, the atmosphere was heavy and tense. Their relationship began to heal. Modern psychological research also shows that forgiveness reduces cortisol levels, the stress hormone, improves cardiovascular health, enhances decision-making, and strengthens social bonds. In conflict-affected communities, these benefits not only bring individual peace, but also create a ripple effect, reducing violence and fostering cooperation. The Reconciliation Project extended beyond meetings. Volunteers and educators guided communities to engage in joint activities. From environmental cleanups and cultural festivals to educational programs teaching children about compassion and forgiveness. Through these consistent positive actions, letting go and forgiveness became a tangible, lived experience, allowing individuals to feel the healing power of compassion in their daily lives. Stories from this project demonstrate that forgiveness and letting go can drive real social change. When formerly opposing relationships are mended, communities not only experience reduced violence, but also develop cooperation, empathy, and a sustainable foundation for the future. This serves as a living lesson in how Buddhist teachings combined with modern psychology can illuminate a community, spreading kindness and peace even in seemingly impossible circumstances. Through this project, everyone realized a simple yet profound truth. Forgiveness is not just a gift to others, but a path to free oneself from suffering, creating a communal strength that transcends all boundaries and conflicts. 7.3 Story 3. The Power of Kindness in an International School. At an international school in Tokyo. From a modern psychological perspective, practicing kindness and forgiveness helps children develop emotional intelligence, EQ, communication skills, and conflict resolution abilities, while also reducing school violence and feelings of loneliness. Studies show that children raised in environments that encourage compassion tend to have lower stress levels, higher cooperation, and create a positive learning environment for everyone. The story of Akira and their classmates in the Kindness Project demonstrates that compassion and letting go are not abstract concepts, but powerful tools for creating a culture of empathetic learning and a united community. When children experience the power of kindness, they learn to generate chains of positive impact, not only within the classroom, but also within their families, communities, and broader society. Through these small yet profoundly meaningful stories, we realize that teaching compassion and high XA from a young age lays the foundation for a generation that knows how to love, forgive, and respect one another, contributing to a harmonious, sustainable, and happy society. Children learn not only knowledge but also how to live with empathy, how to heal relationships, and how to spread positive energy. skills that every adult also needs to cultivate in daily life. Part 8. Compassion and forgiveness in careers and business. In the competitive world of work and business, compassion and forgiveness are not only moral values, but also powerful tools for building a sustainable and effective corporate culture. When people learn to forgive, empathize, and support one another, productivity and team cohesion increase, stress decreases, and professional relationships become more harmonious. The real-life stories below illustrate the power of kindness in international workplaces, where even small actions can create significant impact. 8.1 Story 1. CEO forgives an employee's mistake. At a technology company in San Francisco, a key employee in the software development department made a serious error that nearly caused a major project to fail. Everyone in the company expected the manager to fire or at least severely reprimand him. However, the CEO, Emily, chose to meet with the employee privately and understand the circumstances that led to the mistake. Instead of punishing him, she gave him the opportunity to make amends, providing resources and guidance to fix the consequences. Emily's decision initially surprised and even raised doubts within the company, but the results exceeded expectations. The employee not only corrected the mistake, but also proposed improvements that enhanced the project's efficiency. Research shows that work environments that encourage forgiveness and support reduce employee stress, boost confidence, and enhance creativity, while also improving teamwork. Employees treated with empathy and understanding tend to work harder and feel happier in their daily tasks. The story of CEO Emily and her employee demonstrates that in business, creating an environment where kindness, respect, and mutual learning form the foundation. 8.2 Story 2. Canadian entrepreneur helps a struggling competitor. In the fiercely competitive world of business, where every rival is often seen as an enemy, creating new collaborative opportunities between the two companies, opening markets and joint projects that had never been imagined before. From a Buddhist perspective, Alex's action exemplifies compassion that knows no boundaries between friend or stranger, ally or rival, serving as a way to free oneself from greed, rivalry, and internal tension. By choosing to help his competitor, Alex not only saved them from crisis, but also liberated himself from negative karma, transforming harsh competition into a space of cooperation and positive energy. This act sows good seeds, generating long-lasting positive karma, not just for Alex, but for the broader business community. Modern psychological research also shows that practicing compassion in work and business environments has long-term positive effects. It increases credibility, strengthens trust, and opens collaborative opportunities without coercion or exploitation, creating a social and business network where competitors can become partners and learn from each other. This story emphasizes that in business, as a morally conscious entrepreneur builds trust, reputation, and inner strength that money or power alone cannot replace. In an international context, Alex's story conveys a critical message. Kindness knows no borders, and forgiveness transcends territories, with each act of compassion, big or small, capable of positively transforming the surrounding environment, spreading healing energy to the broader community. When a leader chooses compassion over ruthless competition, they not only help others overcome difficulties, but also recreate the business environment into one that is fairer, sustainable, and full of potential growth, and proactively help one another in times of difficulty. As a result, not only were personal relationships improved, but project performance also increased significantly. Psychological studies on multicultural teams show that tolerance and cooperation in a multicultural environment reduce stress, enhance creativity, and improve team outcomes, perfectly aligning with Buddhist principles of cooperation grounded in compassion and equanimity. Buddhism emphasizes that compassion does not distinguish between borders, nationality, or social status, and equanimity frees the mind from resentment and prejudice. In this context, small acts, patiently listening, forgiving mistakes. What is remarkable is that this shift in attitude and mindset created a positive domino effect. When one member practiced forgiveness, others also found it easier to let go of prejudices, forming a chain of compassionate actions. People began sharing experiences and supporting each other in both work and personal life, significantly boosting team spirit and cohesion. Many realize that effective performance comes not only from technical skills, but also from the ability to practice equanimity and empathy, offering a fresh perspective on success in a globalized environment. This story demonstrates that in a multicultural workplace, and support one another, they not only complete projects but also create a strong, dynamic, and harmonious professional community where collaboration transcends all borders. The lessons from this international team vividly illustrate the Buddhist principle: forgiveness and compassion have no limits. It is a perfect example of how kindness and equanimity can transform a multicultural environment into a space that is sustainable, creative, and deeply humane. Part 9. Practicing compassion and forgiveness in personal life. In the fast-paced modern world, we are often swept up in the whirlwind of work, stress, and complicated relationships. Amidst this flow, compassion and forgiveness serve as anchors of the spirit, helping people heal emotional wounds, release tension, and regain balance. In this section, a turning point came when Emily, the eldest daughter, joined a mindfulness course with a focus on compassion meditation. Through practice, she realized that holding on to anger only brings suffering to oneself, and that forgiveness is not about excusing someone's wrongdoing, but about liberating oneself from negative attachments. Guided by the meditation instructor, Emily began writing unsent letters expressing her true feelings, disappointment, anger, and her deep desire for reconciliation. She learned to see her parents' and siblings' mistakes with compassion, recognizing that everyone struggles with their own pains. After several months, Emily took the initiative to bring the family together for a conversation. The first meeting was tense, and tears were shed, but she led with patience and equanimity, neither blaming nor accusing, simply listening and sharing. Slowly, everyone began to acknowledge their own mistakes and express a desire to heal. Through regular conversations, the walls separating them gradually fell. Small joys returned as they cooked together, participated in activities, and shared old memories. From a Buddhist perspective, this story clearly illustrates that forgiveness heals karma and liberates the mind from resentment, creating conditions for relationships to be restored. When family members practice genuine forgiveness, not only do they experience inner peace, but positive energy spreads, improving the family atmosphere and emotional bonds. Modern psychological research also confirms that forgiveness reduces stress, enhances mental health, and strengthens social connections. Approaching others with compassion and practicing forgiveness helps individuals recognize the value of their relationships while providing a safe environment for emotional expression without fear of judgment. In the end, the Thompson family experienced an everyday miracle. From seemingly broken relationships, they discovered opportunities to renew their bonds, strengthen connections, and nurture love. They understood that forgiveness is not just for others, it is for oneself, and that every act of compassion and every instance of equanimity plants seeds for lasting happiness. This story reminds us that in personal life, compassion and forgiveness are the keys to healing the most important relationships, from family and friends to the broader community, making life lighter, happier, and more meaningful. 9.2 Story 2. Learning to Love Yourself. In a bustling city in the United States, Mark, a 32-year-old office worker, had long felt trapped in a cycle of self-blame and work-related stress. Every time he made a mistake at work or in personal relationships, he felt a deep sense of guilt, believing he was not good enough and undeserving of love. These feelings gradually accumulated, leading to anxiety, insomnia, and an inner emptiness. Mark's daily life became heavy and burdensome. Despite outward success, he constantly felt tension, insecurity, and loneliness inside. Many around him advised, "Just be strong." But Mark realized that imposing such high standards on himself only deepened his suffering. He began seeking a different path, a gentler way to relate to himself. During this journey, Mark came across a course on self-compassion, combining mindfulness and modern psychological techniques. He learned to stop self-criticism and, instead, observe his emotions with kindness. Exercises like journaling with compassion, repeating positive affirmations, or simply breathing mindfully And accepting his feelings helped Mark realize that everyone makes mistakes and deserves love. Gradually, Mark applied these principles to every moment of his day. When he made a mistake at work, instead of berating himself, he would tell himself, "I am doing my best." Every mistake is a chance to learn. When feeling stressed in relationships, he practiced deep breathing, observed his sadness, and recognized that accepting himself was the first step to loving others. The results were visible not only in his mindset. Mark's mental health improved significantly. He slept better, experienced less anxiety, and felt more confident at work. Personal relationships also became closer. Friends and colleagues noticed a change in his attitude and communication. He was calmer, gentler, and more attentive. From a Buddhist perspective, Mark's story reflects the principle that compassion is not only for others, but also for oneself. By learning to treat himself with kindness, he freed his mind from cycles of negative karma rooted in self-blame. This inner liberation generated positive energy that extended into all areas of his life. Modern psychology also supports this. Self-compassion reduces anxiety, stress, and improves overall mental health. People who practice self-compassion tend to be more resilient under pressure, more forgiving of themselves when they make mistakes, and maintain lasting happiness. Ultimately, and he found a quiet yet enduring joy in everyday moments. Mark's story reminds us that in our personal journey, self-compassion is the key to peace, happiness, and spreading love to the world around us, from small daily actions to the most meaningful relationships. 9.3 Story 3. The Journey of Forgiving a Painful Past. In a quiet town in Canada, a woman in her 30s carried painful memories from her childhood. These memories were not just specific events, but also the lingering feelings of abandonment, betrayal, and not being fully loved. Although she had grown into a stable and successful adult, and still felt an inner void, a subtle, persistent sadness that never seemed to fade. Whenever she faced stress or disappointment in life, these memories resurfaced, bringing with them anger, hurt, and self-blame, and realized that in order to truly live fully and happily, she needed to confront and release these memories. She began a journey of seeking forgiveness, not only for those who had caused her pain, but also for herself, for holding on to resentment and suffering for so long. Initially, she turned to practices combining Buddhism and modern psychology, and learned to observe her emotions without judgment, recognizing feelings of anger, hurt, or fear, and gradually transforming them with compassion. She kept a journal, practiced meditation, and repeated affirmations of forgiveness. I forgive my past. I release my pain. Slowly, day by day, a sense of relief began to spread within her, replacing the stress and guilt that had lingered for years. The changes in and were not only internal. She noticed increased focus, smoother and deeper relationships around her, and greater ease in opening her heart. She became less reactive, less frustrated by life's challenges. Compassion and letting go became her true sources of strength, freeing her from mental chains that had once held her back. From a Buddhist perspective, it frees oneself from negative karma and emotional burdens that hinder personal growth. This act generates positive energy, allowing the mind to feel lighter and more serene. The stories in this section guide you to explore how practicing compassion and letting go not only transforms individuals, but also radiates positive energy into the community, creating a true journey toward awakening. From small, sincere actions to deep acts of forgiveness, each experience demonstrates that enlightenment is not merely knowledge. It is a way of living fully with a peaceful mind and an open heart. 10.1 Story 1. A life transformed through compassion and forgiveness. In a bustling American city, Michael, a young man, was known for his quick temper and easily triggered emotions. His relationships were often tense, his work fraught with conflicts with colleagues, and his mood constantly fluctuated with daily events. Each day seemed like a chain of ongoing stress, leaving Michael feeling exhausted and powerless. A turning point came when Michael happened to attend a mindfulness and compassion workshop organized by a local spiritual community. From the very first session, he noticed something remarkable. Just by focusing on his breath, observing his emotions, and understanding himself, he began to feel a sense of relief. Lessons on forgiveness and letting go on seeing others with compassion rather than judgment, gradually seeped into his thoughts and actions. At first, Michael struggled. His habit of snapping and reacting impulsively was deeply ingrained. But he practiced patiently every day, starting with holding back a harsh word instead of responding angrily, and helping a colleague in need without expecting anything in return. Each small action became a building block for a new character, a Michael who was more caring and empathetic. The transformation was not only internal, but also extended to his surroundings. Colleagues began to trust him more, relationships with family and friends grew warmer, and Michael himself experienced joy in helping others. He realized that compassion is not just about giving. It also brings inner peace and happiness. Over time, he freed himself from negative emotions, transformed bad karma into positive energy, and simultaneously increased happiness and peace for others. From a modern psychological viewpoint, but with consistent practice, positive energy gradually spreads, opening the journey to become an awakened person, living fully, peacefully, and spreading love to the world around them. 10.2 Story 2. Zen and the Moment of Enlightenment. In a small village in Japan, renowned for its ancient temples and serene landscapes, there lived an elderly Zen master named Haruto, famous across the region for his profound wisdom and deep compassion. The village attracted not only devoted Buddhists but also international visitors seeking inner peace and a deeper understanding of life. Among them was a young American named Daniel, who was struggling with stress, frustration in work, and turbulent personal relationships. Daniel arrived at the temple weighed down with anxiety, having never truly experienced inner stillness. Upon first meeting Haruto, he immediately sensed a unique energy, non-judgmental, unhurried, simply fully present with pure compassion. Haruto smiled gently and invited him to participate in a morning meditation session. That morning, Daniel learned to focus on his breath, observing each thought and emotion as it arose without clinging or rejecting it. Even when negative feelings, anger, regret, anxiety, surfaced, Haruto would gently remind him, "Breathe, notice it, and let it pass." These simple yet profound instructions gradually helped Daniel realize that suffering does not stem from external circumstances, but from clinging to and resisting reality. One afternoon, while helping Haruto tend the temple garden, an injured stray cat appeared by the stream. Daniel instinctively wanted to walk away, fearing the responsibility. But guided by Haruto's teachings, he overcame hesitation and carefully carried the cat into the temple, tending to its wounds. In that moment, Daniel felt a wave of serenity spread through his body. He understood that even small acts of compassion can release us from anxiety and generate genuine joy. The moment of enlightenment arrived naturally, quietly, without fanfare. In the following days, Daniel continued practicing Zen with Haruto, sitting quietly by the pond, observing nature, meditating while cleaning leaves or sweeping the temple grounds. Every small act became a form of mental training, allowing him to experience joy and forgiveness, both for himself and for those who had caused him pain. Daniel realized that enlightenment is not a distant destination, but a collection of small, everyday moments lived fully with compassion and generosity of heart. Through this experience, Daniel began applying Zen principles to modern life. At work, he listened to colleagues with patience and understanding. At home, he forgave past mistakes, toward himself. 3. Compassion and forgiveness, the key to liberating the mind and building a fulfilling life. Throughout the journey of this book, from small acts of kindness in everyday life to profound experiences of forgiveness and letting go, one truth consistently emerges. Compassion and forgiveness are not abstract ideals, but practical tools to liberate the mind, heal relationships, and build strong communities. From simple gestures like returning a lost wallet or helping the homeless, we see that seemingly minor acts carry a ripple effect far beyond what we might imagine. A young Japanese man returning a lost wallet without expecting a reward created trust and connection within his community. A Canadian doctor volunteering time to care for the homeless not only provided physical health, but also inspired and spread positive energy. These stories demonstrate that even small acts of compassion have a powerful impact, fostering a kind and harmonious society. Within families, friendships, and close relationships, forgiveness shows its profound healing power. A French mother forgives her child after betrayal. An Italian family reconciles after years of conflict. And two English friends restore their bond after a misunderstanding. All these examples reveal that forgiveness is not weakness, but a way to free oneself from the burden of resentment and open the door to genuine connection and emotional closeness. Modern psychology also confirms that people who practice forgiveness experience lower stress, better mental health, and stronger positive relationships. Compassion and forgiveness extend beyond personal life to strengthen communities. From reconciliation projects in Latin America to kindness programs in international schools, we see that widespread practice of compassion and forgiveness reduces violence and builds environments of trust, cooperation, and mutual support. These actions create a ripple effect, spreading peace and goodwill across cultural and national boundaries. In professional and business settings, compassion and forgiveness also prove powerful. A U.S. CEO forgives an employee's serious mistake. A Canadian entrepreneur helps a struggling competitor. And multinational teams collaborate across borders. All demonstrate that kindness and forgiveness do not diminish professional value. They enhance credibility, encourage cooperation, reduce conflicts. Compassion and forgiveness are essential keys to healing, liberation, and holistic growth. They help us reconcile with others, reconcile with ourselves, soothe past pains, and build meaningful, joyful lives. These qualities ripple outward, impacting communities, societies, workplaces, and multicultural relationships, contributing to a peaceful and harmonious world. When practicing compassion and forgiveness, one realizes that true strength comes not from power, wealth, or status, but from the ability to open one's heart, forgive, and spread kindness. This is the path to awakening, nurturing the mind, healing broken relationships, and contributing to sustainable community growth. The international stories we explored, from North America, Europe, Asia, to Africa, demonstrate that compassion and forgiveness transcend borders, cultures, and circumstances. They are universal values connecting people through sincere actions, loving gestures. The practice of compassion and forgiveness is ongoing. Every act of kindness, every word of forgiveness, every caring gesture is a step on the path to liberation and happiness, sowing seeds of merit for oneself and others. By truly understanding and practicing this, the mind is liberated, relationships are healed, communities become resilient. Challenge yourself with compassion and forgiveness. Spread positivity starting today. Modern life is full of stress, conflicts, and complex relationships. Yet it is precisely in the most difficult situations that we have the opportunity to practice compassion and forgiveness. The stories in this journey are not only proof of the power of kindness and letting go, but also reminders that each person can create a positive impact, starting from the smallest actions in daily life. When you choose to forgive instead of holding grudges, when you choose to help instead of ignoring, this seemingly distant ideal can begin with you, from a single decision, a simple yet meaningful action. Challenging yourself is not an abstract idea, but a concrete journey. Today, take a few moments to observe the negative emotions inside yourself, recognize anger, resentment, or fear, and try to release them. Try forgiving someone who has hurt you. Have the potential to create far-reaching positive effects. Modern psychological research also shows that practicing compassion and forgiveness not only brings happiness to the recipient, but also reduces stress, improves focus, enhances mental health, and strengthens social connections for the practitioner. This is the true power of letting go. By releasing hatred and practicing kindness, you not only change the world around you, but also transform yourself, becoming peaceful, happy, and full of positive energy. Look back at the stories shared: the mother forgiving her child, the volunteer doctor in Africa, the entrepreneur helping a competitor, the student helping a stranger, or international students engaging in the kindness project. Each action demonstrates that compassion and forgiveness do not have to be grand to be meaningful. Sincerity and persistence in practice are what truly matter. When you plant these seeds in daily life, You create a chain reaction of positivity, benefiting not only yourself, but also your community, society, and even the world. Here is the final message. Believe that every compassionate choice and every act of forgiveness carries transformative power, transforming yourself, your relationships, your community, and the world. With consistent practice, positivity will spread endlessly, and you will become a model for those around you, paving the way for a more loving, compassionate, and harmonious society. So start today. Challenge yourself to practice compassion and forgiveness. Forgive, help, and spread love, and witness the miracles that arise from the seeds you plant. Have you ever felt stressed, angry, or hurt by someone, and asked yourself, why does this keep happening? Why can't I find peace? There are moments in life when everything seems to go against us, as if the universe is testing our hearts and minds. A car accident, a harsh word from a loved one, or a failure at work can wound us so deeply that we feel like turning our backs on the world. Often, we react with resentment, blame, or try to control everything to protect ourselves. But these reactions only deepen our suffering and create an endless cycle of pain. In those moments of despair, is there another way? A path that leads to inner peace, where the heart is no longer chained by hatred, where we are no longer held captive by past wounds. Buddhism has long pointed to the answer in compassion and forgiveness, two qualities capable of healing the soul, freeing us from suffering, and transforming the way we see the world. But compassion is not weakness, and forgiveness is not about forgetting or accepting injustice. On the contrary, they are inner strengths. Confronted every day with rebellious, violent, and disruptive students, yet through patience and compassion, she not only transforms their behavior, but also transforms herself. Imagine a stranger on a crowded New York street who saves a robbery victim, then cares for the injured thief. A small act with the power to change both the giver and the receiver. Stories like these exist all around us, across nations and cultures, each one revealing the healing power of compassion and forgiveness. What is remarkable is that these stories are not just myths or distant moral lessons. Modern science, psychology, and neuroscience show that acts of kindness, forgiveness, and letting go literally reshape the brain, reduce stress, strengthen social connections, and enhance mental health. When we learn to see others with compassion, when we forgive past hurts, we are not only freeing ourselves, but creating a ripple effect, allowing those around us to feel peace and ease as well. Throughout the next 60 minutes, you will be guided through vivid, real-world stories, from ordinary people in the United States, Europe, and Africa to short but profound Zen tales, each reflecting the miraculous power of compassion and forgiveness. We will analyze how seemingly small actions can transform lives, explore Buddhist philosophy, and understand the modern psychological perspective, showing that compassion and forgiveness are not abstract ideas, but practical tools for freeing